What's up, guys? This is the Wheelchair Bodybuilding Podcast, and we got James, Tim, and Nick Scott today. We're talking about the origins of wheelchair bodybuilding. Nick is the promoter of our division, and I've always been curious about how did we get to where we are today. We're on the Arnold Classic stage, the Olympia stage, and we're really starting to blow up and get documentaries and all kinds of things. So Nick's here to tell us how this all got started.
Thanks, Tyler. So a lot of people were like, there's wheelchair bodybuilding, there's the pro and the amateur, like how did it all come about? So it goes back to the NPC Wheelchair Nationals. It still goes on to this day, the same promoter, which James, Tyler, Tim, you guys all competed, right? Where you get your pro cards. So Frank Dalto is the promoter, and that goes back, he started in 1994. Now, it's in conjunction. What that means is in part of another show. At the time, it was in conjunction with the NPC Sunshine Classic. So it changed over a couple of years and stuff like that. But it was always the national for wheelchair. Like there's USA and national. So the winner of that show means it represents America. That's the whole national thing. There's a reason for I'm saying that, and it'll make more sense. So it started in 1994. So Ludovic Marchand was the first overall champion. You know, the divisions, they just had like 3 weight divisions, like lightweight, middleweight, heavyweight, and then it's split to other ones. And as you see over the years, it's split more. But then Victor Carnavola was the 1995 overall champion, and it evolved. Okay. So then how did this evolve? So I got involved and I competed at the 2006 NPC Wheelchair National. I was a powerlifter. I competed for many years, and that I just I want to just still compete with because I was done with that. So I barely found anything in the fall of 2005. So I found the nationals in 2006. I was like, I'll compete. And there was about like 8 guys, 6 or 8 guys, and one of them was with Colt Wynn. Colt Wynn was the overall champion, but I lost. I was so mad. It's like I don't lose. But that point, here comes King Kong. Hey, Harold.
What's up, Harold?
Hey, Harold.
Okay, well, Harold just joined us, but so that's that night when I lost. I was so amazed by the sport because the sport there's so many people that was so ripped, and it just opened my eyes, and I was so fascinated. And that night, I'm like, I told the guys, like, this is amazing. We need to let the world know about it. And some of the guys kind of laughed. I'm like, whatever. So I went home. So then I didn't know where I was going to go with this. So I was like, you know what? I'm just going to learn how to build a website because I didn't have funds at the time. So I learned how to do build a website. Then I'm like, what else do I really know how to do this? And it's like I really let the world know about it. But then I was like trying to figure out like how to make it a professional sport because I was doing a bunch of research, and I didn't understand why they didn't have a pro. So then I talked to the promoter, and we went back and forth, but there was a lot of people, even other promoters and other people saying it just can't happen. But I kept on saying, you know, why can't this happen? So I kept poking at people for like 2 years. And eventually that's when I got in contact with Bob Ciccarello. And he told me that the person I need to talk to is Jim Mannion. So I went back and forth with Jim for a couple of years. That actually was, no, it was from 2006. It was 2006 when I talked to Bob. And it was in 2008 when I finally got a hold of, in the process of dealing with Jim. And Jim finally said in 2008, he said, if you think you can make it happen, have at it. So he basically, he gave me a chance, but I didn't know what all it took to make this happen. So from then, it took me from 2008 to 2011 to make the first pro wheelchair competition happen. Okay, so now it gets tricky. So keep in mind that at the time, there's no pros. So Victor Carnavola, he was always saying he was the first pro because he had this honorary pro card, which he did. But then that's what it got confusing with a lot of people because it was like in the honorary. So technically, in order to be a pro, even if you guys won the overall champion, or in regular bodybuilding or any division, if they win their pro card, technically they're not a pro until they sign the contract. That is when that's when they become official. Because I found this out because one athlete he won the overall, but then he kept competing. I was like, well, why you can't do that? And then I was talking to the vice president, Peter Potter, at the time, and he told me that there was a rule in there with the NPC that they could win the spot, but they don't have to choose to have the pro card. They basically added this rule in there for the banner weights, because if the banner weights are like the smaller division, the smaller guys, and maybe they don't want to compete against the 300-pound pros, so they let that happen so they can just go compete as an amateur year if they want to. So I was like, okay, because some of the guys were up in the air if this could actually happen, because they're thinking, if they turn pro, will there be ever another show after this? Because then we're not allowed to compete as amateurs again. And so this is where it was a controversy with the guys, because I'm competing at the same time and everything's trying to, evolve. So then some guys didn't want to sign it. A lot of guys did, but I told the guys, like, we got to stick together, and like, just trust me, because a lot of the guys are just going off my word, because I kept pushing this, because this is what they want too. And I wanted it too, because I said, one day we can get this on the Arnold Olympia, but I don't know how we're going to do it, but we will. It's just, we got to start somewhere. It's like, you don't think about, like, all it takes is just begin. So then it got a controversy, because, like, who was the first pro? So how all the guys got the pro cards, because these guys won the overall, but they didn't have the pro cards. So when Jim Mannion and I would discuss, so originally it was that the overall winners from the NPC Wheelchair Nationals would be granted their IFBB pro status. So, and how we did it was started from 1994 and on up. So in chronological order. So the numerical order. So officially, Ludovic Martian is actually the first pro. So moving forward. So now what about, like, the international guys? So how we discuss that. So they would have to submit these competitions. They competed, they won pictures, and I would submit them for review for the IFBB, and Jim Manuel would have the final say if they got approved. So that's how, Gabriel, Daniel, Anthony, Mario, all those guys around the world, that's what we had in place. So then moving forward, so who was the actual first person that actually that earned their IFBB pro card? Well, there was 2011, but it still was not in place. It was placed after 2011 NPC Wheelchair Nationals. So I was the first. So I was the 2011 NPC Wheelchair National overall champion, but then I worked with Luke and Robin for the NPC USA Wheelchair Championship, and that show was granted their whoever won that, the pro status. So Harold competed at the 2010 NPC USA champion. That wasn't a pro qualifier, but the 2011 was. So when Harold competed there and won that USA in 2011, that's how Harold got his pro card. So technically, Harold's the first one that actually earned the pro card. And then moving forward, Harold won the 2011 pro show. So that's how the beginning phases of the amateur to the pros began. So we'll start there. So if you guys got questions, let's talk about that, because now there's getting the very technical sides about international.
I have a question, because I thought it was fascinating how you guys first convinced Jim Mannion to go back and give all these pro cards. So, like, what was that conversation like with Jim? Be like, hey man, we're going all the way back to 1994 and we're going to give like 10 pro cards out. Like, has he ever done anything even remotely close to that? That seems kind of crazy to me, but it worked out. So
to make this pro, because I was so confident, and I was talking to him, and we went back and forth for emails, and sometimes he didn't respond for a couple months, and I kept going back and forth, and it's like, and just because he's so busy and stuff. But then I was like, because like, how's this all going to happen? And I told him my vision. It's like, and so at certain nationals and USA's that the winners get their pro cards. But Ludovic won multiple times. Victor Conavola won multiple times, and there's other winners that already they're the best in the country. So we got to start somewhere. So I said, how about if we just take all the overall champions, from wheelchair nationals? And he agreed. Originally, I said the first place divisions of each category, but he wasn't having that because sometimes it wasn't enough people. So we went with the overall champion. So that's how it was. So we can get enough quality guys, the winners, to start this, the IFBB Pro wheelchair. It's just a start, and then expanding to more pro qualifiers. That's a whole nother. I'll get to that in a minute, but he was open to all that because as long as you got a clear vision of where you want to go, and you can get the other people, because the strength is really in the numbers, then they're willing to listen.
Yeah.
Any questions? I'll kind of keep on going then after.
Nothing yet. Keep on going.
Keep going, brother.
Okay, so the first pro show happened, and so now it gets technical with names. So it's like, what are we going to call this? And originally Jim Mannion called it the 2011 IFBB Pro Wheelchair Championships. That's actually the name, but it was added to the Houston Pro. So I was like, okay, but then moving forward, so how the first pro show, because promoters wasn't having this before that show happened, that 2011 Houston Pro. I actually had to build a relationship with the promoter at the time. So I guest posed for that show, the NPC Texas State and Houston Pro, in 2009 and 2010. So then the promoter at the time, he was open to it for the following year. So I built a tight relationship with him. So he was open, and then it started to build a fan favorite of just the athletes. And then we added it in 2012. So then in 2013, that's when I expanded it. And then you can't call two shows the 2013 IFBB Pro Wheelchair Championships. So then that's when I'm like, okay, we got to change, the names really got to be to the shows. So that's when the 2013 Houston Pro, and then what was it, Harold? Was it the 2013 was Toronto, or was it the UK? Let me look at this.
14, 15. 14, 15, 16. Hold on.
I got to look at the history real quick so I can tell you. I think it's
So basically, you're saying they just kept the name.
I'm looking at Body Power, Utah 2014 for sure.
Yeah, let me see. Okay, so 2013 was the Houston Pro. So then for 2014, so 2013 was called the IFBB Pro Wheelchair Championships. But then 2014, that's when, okay, because this stuff costs this.
Yeah, 3 shows that year.
Yeah, 2. I'm looking at the history. So how it was is in the beginning there was so a lot of people don't know when promoters put on shows, there's sanction fees and then prize money. So even though there's prize money, there was sanction fees to be paid too. So there's a lot of hidden things plus other stuff what I won't get into. So to try to expand this is where I started becoming more and more speaking, pay for things, because this stuff got really expensive. So the promoters could do their own thing and they can up whatever money they want, but they just kind of, it's kind of one of these things that they don't do it to an extent. So here's 2014. I was thinking, okay, we need to travel around the world, and that's when I teamed up with the UK Body Power over in UK, which it's in the same. You guys are seeing that the 2022 Arnold Classic UK. So that show is in the same location as Body Power was in 2014, 2015. So as I expanded it, because I wanted to get international athletes involved, because Dan Smith was the UK champion. So he's an amazing athlete. So in order to make this look more powerful, you got to recruit where the athletes are. So that's when Harold and we went over to the UK. We go the distance. So that's 2014. Now I'm adding shows because once I add a show, I want to keep those shows and keep on adding another show, but it becomes more and more expensive. So now in 2014, the promoter shifted from Houston to Dallas. So now it was that 2014, it was the Dallas Pro. So in 2015, it's the Dallas Pro, the UK Body Power, and now the Toronto Pro Super Show. So in 2015, this is Toronto Pro Super Show, and I built relationships with Toronto because in 2014 and 2013, I was guest posing for the promoter. I was working the bodybuilding.com booth, plus I was guest posing just to win the promoter over because that's another, international, Canada. So American athletes could easily go up to Canada. It's a short flight, but we can look bigger because it's international. So what happened was the whole shift. So that's 2015. But how did the Arnold Classic happen? So in 2014, I was on a mission to really push beyond. So then I brought the best package I ever did in my life to the Dallas Pro. And then after that, like it was really a conflict of interest because me being an athlete, me being a promoter, me being, involved. So soon after that, it was started to talk about like things need to change. So going into the 2015 Toronto Pro, I already said to the promoter I would compete, but that's when it was conversations that would be my last show I'd compete at, because now I'm taking on this front runner of the voice for the NPC and IFBB. So going into that, I knew that I didn't want to place where I want to, because I'm going to have to pave it forward, because it was already talks and conversation to be added to the Arnold Classic. Okay, so I retired. I competed at the Toronto Pro Super Show, but then I retired on stage in 2015 Dallas Pro, which Harold was there. He won, and then I officially retired, and that's the beginning of the 2016 Arnold Classic. That's why I wear this ring. So the ring that you always see on my hand is the 2016 Arnold Classic Championship ring. Or it's the promoter ring. So the Arnold Classic, 2016, the promoter. So I wear this ring as a symbol that I gave up my career to make this stuff happen. And the only time I'll change it is the Olympia, because I have the Olympia ring. So that's up to that point of the Arnold Classic. Any questions?
Yeah, do you miss competing?
I do, but I don't. Like I'm getting back in shape to guest pose on October 15th, and I got some other things in the work, but that's just for promotions and other things. So I'm trying to juggle it, and I miss it, but it's a lot of work to do everything, work, guest pose, do all this stuff. But I don't know. Something is in me saying, you know what, let me see what I can bring back. I'll probably ride this out for a few years. But this is just my own little thing.
I think it says a lot though that you could see that there was a conflict of interest. Like I could see that, like especially talking to promoters and stuff. So I mean, I have a lot of respect that you decided to retire so that there wasn't a conflict of interest. And look, we know you're not making a ton of money being the head promoter for the wheelchair division. I mean, I know you sacrifice a lot of your own time and money to do that. So, I mean, hats off to you for doing that, for sure.
Okay, so two things. So the giving up the career and everything. Jim Mann is the one that actually said either be an athlete or promoter, but not. It's like I have to choose. So there was no Arnold Classic, there was no Olympia. So I chose. It's a sacrifice I'm willing to do to pave the way, because I saw the sacrifices Harold made and the other athletes, and the only way that's going to be to the next level is that. And as for money being the cheer and stuff, this is what I do. It's nothing but volunteer. All the prize money, all the travel, that's just that's just me paying it out of pocket. That's all. If I can get some sponsors to pay for stuff, I give it all to the athletes. But it costs it costs a lot of money over over the years. But this is where I push more of being a speaker, and that's how I make a living. And then I kind of dabble into some other stuff. But all this stuff with the website, all this stuff, like it's just I've invested a ton of my own money to grow this to paint an image so it looks professional. So then that way it could be added to the Honor Classic to be the Olympia, because that's when you just collaborate and team up, and that's all it is. And wheelchair bodybuilding is that's actually a 501c3 that I founded back in 2008, but it got approved in 2010. So it's just a nonprofit that I just like. I was thinking, okay, I can get grants and all this stuff over the years. And it's so difficult because I've hired companies to write grants and all this stuff, but it's to get people to back this. It's been hell over the years, and I can barely get anything. And then I even went to the point where I knocked on doors and stuff like that, and it was embarrassing. And I was like, there's got to be a different way. So, I'll tell you the vision at the end. Where there's a reason why I moved to San Antonio, Texas. But anyway, so that's
quick question of Harold, because you were talking about the Arnold and everything it took to finally compete at the Arnold. I'm just curious, Harold, what you think about what that was like. I mean, because to me, that seems like that's a big step right there, getting to the Arnold.
Yeah, when we was doing a lot of shows. You hear me?
yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna start where he left off from, man. We was doing shows from 2011, 12, 13, 14, 15. So you got 5 years in the trenches of doing this, right? And him and I, we're on the planes that we talk, and him with Reggie there too, with everybody, and pushing for the honor. And when we finally got the thumbs up for the honor, man, it was like success. Even before we even competed, it's just like, okay, we are part of this society of bodybuilders, professional bodybuilders. And because the honor was like a plateau, man. Back, I don't think, have y'all went to the honor pre-COVID? Have anybody been to the honor classic before the COVID?
Yeah.
I've never been. I've heard stories.
I went only because of Nick. Thank you for that, Nick.
Yeah. So the honor classic pre-COVID is like Vegas. It's like the honor classic had 21 to 22,000 competitors. You hear what I say? 21 to 22,000 competitors from across the world. That's not their families. That's not the people who came to see them. That's 21 to 22,000 competitors. So technically, the honor was actually bigger per count than Olympia. So for us to be on that stage, man, it was unreal. It was unreal, and knowing, because the honor was across the world, the Olympia was always in Vegas. So yeah, you're the best in the world. You got to come to Vegas to experience Olympia, but Arnold was in Australia, Africa. Arnold is a world name. So when you clinch that title as an Arnold competitor, you missed the Arnold Classic. That was crazy, bro. We won that when we was on that stage. It's a different feel. It's still the different. It's still today. The Arnold competition, just almost in the same plateau I brought up Mr. Olympia, because that's how that big that name is, So winning that first, being on stage for that 2016, and doing the Toronto Pro, doing the Canada, doing the Texas was beautiful and phenomenal. Don't get me wrong, but when we did the Honor Classic, it was another whole world. It was another whole. I mean, it's another whole phenomenon. And just the crowd that was in there, and you look at the audience, and you just like in the arena, it's like you just looked around like like you're in Rome, man. It was like the gladiators. Part of the gladiators that was there, bro. Yeah,
me and James are getting ready to have our pro debut. I was nervous before. Now I'm real damn nervous.
Yeah, definitely nervous.
So this is going to be unique because you can get Harold's perspective from the beginning too in a second. But to give you, because Harold's right, there's like over 22,000 athletes because it's a festival. So there's like 80 sports, like fencing, dancing, all the stuff. So the Arnold before pre-COVID, it brings in about 250 to 270,000 people. Okay. They have like 1,000 booths. Then the Olympia in size, it's the number one show because it's Super Bowl, but it brought in about 160 to 170,000 people, but they didn't have it a festival. So this is where expos are starting to become like festivals and multi because they know that's where it's at. So like it's a strategy because it's for the biggest shows. Because Harold and I, we're going back many years because I said, what do you want? And we all, like the guys were telling me. So going back, this is the conversation to Harold. Harold had to choose if he was going to compete at the 2011, Houston Pro. So tell them how, like, I don't like, we had that conversation, but Harold would have to sign to get his pro card. And once he was a pro and compete, he would never be an amateur again. Like he counted on me. So tell them how you felt. And like, cause you counted on me. So obviously something I said to you stuck and you trusted me because now let them hear it from you.
Yeah, I mean, when I first met Nick, the first conversation I had with Nick, I think we was in Dallas, right? And you was at a competition, you had a booth set up, and I rolled by, and I think that was our first conversation we had. And you was like, "Do you compete?" And I was like, "Nah." I think I told you what happened. I was NGA, competed with people NGA car accident. And you was like, "Hey man, we working on this wheelchair class. It's a wheelchair league. You can compete professional as a wheelchair competitor. And we can travel the world. We can go to different places, man. Get on stage, da da da." And I'm like, "Okay." My wife with me, Emily with me, And then I think we had a brief conversation. Then I don't think we talked no more. And then I think you contacted me one more time. And then you saw me again down there in New Orleans with Luke, right?
Yep, 2010.
Right. And you said, "Oh, okay, you came. You did it. You're doing it." So, and then, like I said, every show, it was Nick and I talking about stuff, and he was promoting it, and I was enjoying it. Like I said, this is what I did. I work out every day, and people don't understand that it wasn't me trying to be Mr. Olympia, me trying to be on a classic winner. That was my lifestyle. That's what I do. I get up, go work out, then I go to work. Still go get up, go work out, then go to work. So, when it becomes your lifestyle, man, it comes back 10 times fold if you're doing it from your heart, And at this point, you do it for so long, you just, and like I was telling Nick, me and Nick was talking about it earlier too, and I never leave Nick out on how I feel about things. Nick I'll tell him, man, because he's a real person. He know I'm a real person. And we don't flange each other. I tell him something, he may not like it. He'll swallow it, and he'll tell me how you feel. He may tell me something I not like it. Then I'm just tell him how I feel again. And we still best boys. You call me, actually need something, call me. I'll call him. And that's how it's supposed to be. Keep it honest. Keep it, face value. And again, the latter part of the years, like I said, the 20, the 21, the 19, 20, 21, and this when I start looking at the effort that we put into it. Well, we're professionals. We're professionals. We're doing this like any other bodybuilder. And that's when it comes to where, okay, where's the proceeds coming out? We need to get some more proceeds. And I'm not attacking Nick. I think when Nick set this up, they put all of that weight on Nick's shoulders. Which it wasn't supposed to be that way. Nick wanted to say what we have. Now y'all run with it, but they never ran with it. Nick still has the weight on his shoulders because every show, like you said, when you go to pro class, you have to buy that card for that pro class to be at your facility. That costs. I know that. Getting into this, having a show side of it, I know all of that now. But Nick had to take care of all of that, and he had to take care of the payouts. And I just think it was so unfair to continue to give that to Nick. Put that on say, yeah, Nick is the wheelchair promoter, or whatever they want to call him. But bro, when you promote a show, you the person supposed to provide that class, the proceeds for that class, the payout for that class. And the promoters are not doing that. This year, again, was the first time, I think, I'm not sure, Nick, but I think it's the first year they ever, okay, let's see what we can do. They should have been doing that years ago. That's crazy. Why they got all kind about it and bring it back up, which you already know that's the protocol. That's the protocol promoting the show. provide for that class as a pro class, and you do the payout and so forth. So we had a good position, and things happen over time. And like I told Nick, 10 years of it, 11 years of it, it's way past the time where it's pro she's sleeping up. But again, they kept putting it back on Nick. They couldn't put it back on Nick. Whereas every promoter, every show is supposed to put that payout in a pot. Or they're supposed to provide that payout for that pot that have that class. But they always say, well, Nick handled that side of it. So you won't have to do anything over there other than Nick do it, which it shouldn't have been that way. If you're a promoter for a show, he's bringing these guys to your show, but you still the promoter, you still supposed to provide that payout. And I think now they're seeing that, okay, they don't want to say it. If Nick don't say it, they ain't gonna say it. But now Nick tells them, hey, y'all need to join me or something. You know what I mean? These guys are coming, these quality bodybuilders are coming to your show. Everyone loves them. They want to be there. So now what are you gonna do about it? And I think we finally there now this year. Like I said, the honor was a change, and now we're moving forward. And I'm quite sure there could be more changes. So, we laid the platform, we laid the ground for it. I mean, not we, Nick did, really. I was just by his side. And providing what I feel that I came with me and what God blessed me with, to be able to have a physique that someone can look at and not be like, he did this. Now, when they look at it, it's very impressive. So when you look at a certain person's physique, you're like, oh, this guy's a serious bodybuilder. You can't look like that and be just like, we just want to, charity, it's a charity case division. No, it's not, bro. Well, we work hard. Every one of us work hard. And
Hell yeah.
Oh yeah.
That's the thing about it. And I think initially it was like, this could be a little charity case. I don't know. No, you may see one or two, but no, we got masters of guys that look like this, bro. Jason Greer, got there Big Dan, Ludovic, all these guys, Antonio, Gabe.
Mm-hmm.
These guys look phenomenal. Got there Gabe. All of us look apart, bro. So there's no denying our division, none at all. So now let's move forward and let's let them treat us like professional bodybuilders, just like all the other classes. Yeah.
And this is where Harold and I, Harold and I battled it out for years. And, we're both serious, but there was a turning point when, I decided to step down in order to make it happen. So it's and you got to shift the mindset of I have such a competitive mindset. Harold knows, and the other guys know, especially when I was competing and stuff. It took a lot to just kind of you know what, I'm gonna let this go. I'm gonna let you guys run with it. But it's not just me; it's everybody, because we're a team. Yeah, I may push for things, but if it wasn't for Harold and the other guys, it would never work. Just that we have to trust each other to grow. So, and I know trying to push this. I know what Harold wants. I know what the other guys wants, and I listen to everybody. Then I try to do these conversations with the promoters. That's a whole nother conversation, which I gotta be careful what I say. But yeah, I'm so there's 2016, but I knew the Olympia's what Harold wanted and the other guys wanted, but it took a little bit of time because certain requirements were met, and to make that happen, it was not easy, because there was all this extra stuff that was put on me. I had no clue, but I did everything that they wanted. At the time, I was in Vegas, and then the first year was 2018, but even then they wanted to test this whole thing. They did not call it Wheelchair Olympia. It was not called Olympia. So when Harold won that, it wasn't technically his first Wheelchair Olympia title. Okay, so now what was the show called? Okay. Technically, the show at the time was called the 2018 IFBB Pro League Pro Wheelchair Championships at the Olympia weekend. So I was like, really? I was like, okay, we'll go with that. I'm like, as long as we get the guys on the stage. I was like, can I use the Olympia logo on the poster? No. Could I get the graphics on the stuff? No. I was like, can they have stuff? No. all it is that's how it was. And as I told the guys, like it is what it is. Let's just do this and go from there. And that's what happened. So they realized how valuable this was. And then 2019, it was officially the first time. So now moving forward, it was
Now,
2019.
I don't know. I don't know if I'm the only one who was oblivious to all of that. Like, I was the brand new pro in 2018. Right? My first pro show was the Olympia, right? So I'm like, oh, at the Olympia, I was loving every second of it. I was totally oblivious to we weren't like part of that year. You know, that's the
Right. So look at your jacket. You'll see that it doesn't have the logo.
I know where you're going now. When we got everything. Oh, I didn't realize they didn't get it.
Okay, so in the back of my mind, that got to me because it's not an Olympia win technically for Harold. So now it's like this winning streak. So that's always in the back of my mind. But again, these are conversations. Now this is just another thing I have to bring up to kind of like fix, right? So Harold won in 2019, 20, and 21. But then before 21, I think that's when I had the meeting and I explained the case. It's like, is it okay if because it was transition of owners. It's like, and can we officially call this, Wheelchair Olympia? So, Harold has the title, for that official, and it was approved. So technically now the official date of Olympia is Wheelchair Olympia, but it had to be back in like 2021. So yeah, I think it was this past Olympia. So that's how things all evolved. If you look at the graphics and stuff, that's why it's so unique that the 2018, it'll say Olympia weekend, but it's not the Olympia logo. So it's very particular. So all the posters that you guys see, like I have Sammy does it, and they have to be reviewed by the promoters themselves as well as the IFBB. And like I just want to make this stuff happen. I don't care if like I'm like the promoter or whatever. I don't care any title. I just want to make the wheelchair division part of it. They can run it on their own. Like I never said I'm going to take over. And if they wanted, I told them like have at it. I will be part so I can help make things run smooth. Like I don't want this to be like I'm the guy that you guys are going to go through. I just want this to be another division added to the pro thing. And that's it. And so going back to the how to brand this around the world, because if you look at like there was the Phil Heath and Kai Green controversy or Kevin Bro, there was always controversy. And for the wheelchair, not necessarily I wanted that like that, but I wanted to focus more on the stories of overcoming because I realized like that really touches people and it's showing that you guys overcome, which that'd be a fan favorite. That's why like the division, they love the stories, but they love seeing you guys all unique. And that was a thing I started in 2016 and the shift of this division.
Yeah.
Because I'm sure Harold, over the time, you had many people coming up to you, bringing up your story and stuff.
Yeah.
Well, so let me start asking questions about where you see it going. Well, actually, before we get to that, let me ask you a couple of questions here because, I'm sure like once you got on the Olympia stage, the exposure was magnified, Arnold and the Olympia. But tell me what might be going on with Generation Iron, and if we're able to do Generation Iron, what that might do for our exposure.
Okay, so if you look at the strategy that I'm doing, so Bob Ciccarella is the voice of bodybuilding. So, there was the Arnold and the Olympia. When we're up there together, I just tell the stories, but Bob announces the athlete as the official voice. So this stuff goes over people's head. That way it's still equal all the other divisions. I'm just telling what happened to you guys. That's it. So I'm not trying to change anything. I'm just trying to add a little value to the thing because it grabs the attention of people. So now moving forward, I've been at Generation Iron for like about 5 years. It was always in the talks and they were interested in this. And this is where you know, I've been going back and forth, like texting and also videoing with the two main guys, Vlad and Edwin. Those are the main two guys of them. And the next feature film that they want to do is on wheelchair bodybuilding. Now it's just up, like, it's going to beginning to be aggressive filming in August. So they're planning to get about like 4 or 5 guys that they're going to highlight. Like, so everything's in the works. But like Harold would be one of them. I'm not going to tell, like, it's still up in the air of the other ones, but Harold's going to be, I didn't even talk to him yet about this because I got a couple more meetings and then like we're going to pull the triggers on everything. But it's going to be aggressive filming of their, it's basically their lives to an extent, because it's like pumping iron, but wheelchair bodybuilding style. It's going to have the whole bodybuilding aspect. I got it approved at the Olympia already to have them film, because the final filming will be done at the Olympia. So they're going to pick about 4 or 5 athletes, but Errol's going to be one of them. And it's going to tell their stories, so that it shows them overcoming, but also their training and also that fitness aspect, because the story aspect of it is more mainstream. So that way it's a bigger reach. Because when Ronnie Coleman got on Netflix, you know, if you hear him talk, like, he wasn't ever noticed at the airports as much as he was once he was on the Netflix documentary. So this will either be on Netflix, but also Amazon Prime. But they're going back and forth with them because Amazon Prime really wants more fitness documentaries, and they're willing to give more advertisement on like the front page and stuff. It's really about teaming up with people to really have a huge reach. That way, these athletes and the sport become more well known. Whoever's going to be on this film is really going to be like, their lives is going to change, because then opportunities will really come to them, because, you know, companies will hear their stories, and this is where they can become speakers or endorsed or whatever. And this is why I teamed up with them.
Look, I'm gonna tell you, you've been talking a lot about this was a shift, this was a shift, this was a shift. To me, this would be a huge shift. I think Generation Iron is a brand that everybody in the fitness industry, anybody that's even remotely interested, even people that don't bodybuild, they all know it. And I think that's going to be a big game changer if this goes down. So what do you think, Harold? Is that going to be a green light for you or what?
You back at that quest again.
Hey man, that would be a green light for me if they call me up wanting to spotlight me. So
I'll tell you what, when I get that phone call, you go.
you want to hear the 100% first, right? There you go.
I know. I truly respect what Nick says, because he, you know, he's in the back seat and stuff, and he knows stuff that he can't release sometimes. And sometimes he'll send me shoot me a text and tell me something. Hey, Harold, Luke, we're working on this, but don't say nothing. I'm like, all right, it's me and you. I understand, because he has to keep things under the table until it's totally releasing. Yeah. They got some channels how things need to be released, and I respect that. Any business, same thing. As a management, you can't just let the guys who work and know exactly what's management. You keep them separate, kind of like, until when you have to let them know. This is gonna be a big punch for the wheelchair class when we get on the big screen with Generation Iron, and they make that movie. It's like, you know, the Kai and, you know, Phil deal, and how, man, it reaches the world, not just the U.S. It reaches the world, and yes, every person that's going to be on there is going to represent this class, and that's what I think people realize. This is way beyond me or the other guy that's going to be on it. This is about the wheelchair class going to another level, and sometimes your true opinion will have to always be there. You just got to recognize this is for a higher cause than you. And, you know, with me, when it comes to me like that way, then that would definitely tell me whether I'm competing or not. Just because for me to turn that down and not compete, knowing I'm just putting a stab in the wheelchair class that we started since 2010. I mean, it started way before me. So I don't want to be that person that didn't excel it when I had an opportunity to sell it. Because again, God give each person something for a purpose. If you see he's using it for that purpose, you need to be used for that person and keep your feeling and your emotions out of it and be used. you know, and I see that. So with that comes, like you said, if it comes, it ain't probably, I'm sorry, that comes, it's no question what I need to do to fulfill my role. I'm Mr. Awesome. I'm on a classic winner multiple years. I'm 4-time wheelchair Mr. Olympia. So why wouldn't I help promote the division more? That'd be an insult to myself as a person if I don't. You know, so I don't care how everything else is going on, I'm gonna have to figure it out. And it'll make a way. The way will be made. So I don't worry about it. So if that comes to you, like you said, you ask me a question, well, is the answer gonna be yes or no? 100% yeah. Then I gotta do quick teasers to make sure I get myself the way I need to look on the stage. Yeah.
So I just messaged Edwin on WhatsApp, so I want to see if he's willing to get on video so you guys can see this, especially since we're recording, so you guys can see this is the real deal. Because like when I get involved with stuff, I want to make sure I make things happen. And Harold knows, because if I tell Harold something's coming up, he knows it's the real deal. This is why this has worked so much for over the years, because I don't talk about things. I'll just make things happen. But again, I'm messing. This is a lot of pressure just trying to with everybody's lives, everybody's the shows, the promoters, the IFBB, all this pressure. But I rise with the pressure because at the end of the day, like this is about you guys and you guys' future. So let me see. Oh, he just saw it. Let me see if he's one. Oh yeah, he's recording. He's recording an audio. He's recording. Oh,
Who is that, Nick?
this is Edwin from Generation R.
Oh, okay.
Hey, Nick, I'm actually driving right now. Is it okay if I let the guys know to come on from the Generation Iron IG side?
Oh,
Hey, Nick, I'm actually driving right now. Is it okay if I let the guys know to come on from the Generation Iron IG side? Oh, I just noticed it's actually a Zoom. Let me see if I could try to come on. I'm trying to see if I can do it now.
You
hey
guys,
Edwin, you could just we could do the Zoom, or unless you want to just video me and I can show them on the video on my phone that you could just talk to him from there. That's Edwin. So he's driving right now. So this is the guy from Generation R. You guys want to see it, right?
Yeah. Let's put him on the spot. Tell him we got Harold here. We're ready to go.
Let me send him the login that Tyler sent me. Oh, you guys want to see that this is real, right? Hold on a second.
Dude, this is as good as it gets. Do it live. I love it.
So this is not. I was not expecting. I just sent him the Zoom for this. So let's see. Tyler, be ready to add him if he comes on. So
All right, I'll watch for him.
So he literally will have to pull over to get on specifically for this. So
Tim, you trying to make me go to the gym again today, huh?
Hey man, we just want to see you there, man. It wouldn't be any good without you. It just wouldn't be the same.
so this is going to be a unique podcast, because if Edwin comes on from Generation Iron to Tyler since he started, I mean, this is going to be an epic one.
Hell
Then
yeah.
you guys can ask Generation Iron themselves, right?
I will. You know
Makes
I
it even
will.
better.
Let's see if Harold gets fired up, because then you can ask Edwin. So the two main guys is Vlad and Edwin. So sometimes Vlad and Edwin is together, but like I said, if I message them and stuff like that, they're willing to get on at any time, because I'm dealing with a bunch of other companies. Because in the film, there's going to be product placements and stuff, because this is a lot of stuff to make this happen. So trying to make things work is just, there's a lot of behind the scenes that I'm doing for this movie. But hopefully Edwin will get on so you guys can ask him questions, because like this is a very unique thing. I think you all would be like fired up if you saw that.
Hell yeah.
Sure.
Hey, I love it, man.
Hey, Nick, who's doing the UK?
So right now it's Anthony, Anand, Gabriel, and Carl, the new guy from I forgot what country, but all of them are turning in their contracts. Carl just needs to sign in, but then Saturday is the amateur. There's right about 9 or 10 guys for the amateurs signed up. There may be about 11, 12, if not more. I mean, it's a big push over there. That's like there's a whole crew of the Arnold UK, these amateurs that wanted this. They kept asking me, and I'm like, okay, because I wanted to go to the UK as well to bring it back there. So I got the IFBB approved or a pro card. So the amateur is going to get a pro card, and they're going to be allowed to compete. So there'll be 5 guys competing at the Arnold UK.
Good, real good.
And things are in the works. So I'm gonna have I'm actually gonna I'm gonna send an email to Arnold's assistant as well as a few other people that talked about having Arnold actually hand out the award this time, since like it was like through the powers at the Arnold. They said they were gonna have Arnold out there, but he never did it. And I don't know why that all got mixed up. But I'm gonna make
What's the date?
September 25th is the pro show. The amateurs September 24th. So, and on top of that, the reason why I'm gonna push this because I'm gonna ask in favor if Arnold would say a few things on camera about wheelchair bodybuilding so it can be put in the movie.
Perfect.
So, because what happens is after the trailer comes out. Like I never really ask favors for promoters or the IFBB and stuff. I'm going to ask them to put the trailer on and to put it on all the social platforms all over the world. So that way it's a total domination.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you got a free ticket hanging around. Love to get a free ticket.
Did you see the Arnold Classic stage in the UK?
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
Is the RC the same facility it was before?
Yeah, it's at the neck. It's the same one. So
NEC.
Yeah, so NEC. So like when I put on shows, I a lot of times I go there beforehand to kind of get a vibe.
Yeah.
So when athletes fly in to Birmingham, it's literally like a 6-minute taxi ride or a 10-minute to 15-minute push in the wheelchair, and you're right there. And the Moxie Hotel is right there. And as soon as you leave the front doors, you're looking at the place where you guys would be competing at.
Yeah, big facility.
It's huge.
Yeah, it's like what, 4 football fields, some shit like that. It's like a big. When you flying in, if you look out the window, you can see the NEC. Yeah, it's big.
Oh yeah.
It's big.
So like Harold knows because like when when in the gifs of doing all this around the world, it's like I put myself in your shoes, because I've competed, I've hired coaches, all this stuff. It's like you want to make sure when you do get on that stage that you get the most amount of exposure, pictures, videos, so you can use it in content, so you can push for your own self and really grow your own brand so you can get signed with companies and sponsorships.
While we're waiting for him, is there any update on the Netflix documentary from 2020?
Ooh, you remember that, right?
Yeah.
I messaged him like about it was about 3 weeks ago. So that one is planned. He said if everything goes right, it's going to be launched in September, October on Netflix.
Perfect.
So, and
Okay,
I told him
what's
to
that
send me.
one? I don't know that one. Wait, y'all just dropping? Oh yeah, we got another documentary out of nowhere.
Yeah, so it was like in what was it, 2020, mid 2020?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was early 2020 where somebody reached out about they were going to do a documentary and they wanted it's a bunch of series of like extreme sports and one part of an episode they wanted to do on wheelchair bodybuilding, and they reviewed athletes. So the athlete that they chose to do it on was Johnny Quinn. So and they did all this stuff with Johnny. I think Doxon, and I think there's a few other things. They were flying around with them, and they did a lot of behind the scenes stuff on stage at the Olympia. All this stuff had to get approved, but that's going to be dropping in August or September, October. So it'll be a nice little prep of exposure from wheelchair bodybuilding, and also some of you guys would be in it, and then then this is going to be a feature film specifically on wheelchair bodybuilding. So kind of like what Johnny probably did on them, but even that much more. Because what's so fascinating about they're really wanting on this is because you see that Kai Green, they just did a movie on Kai Green, right?
Mhm.
Yeah.
You can see that it's going to talk a lot about his story. So right now it's about storytelling. So the athletes that they choose, it's really I'll have meetings with them and go over like kind of what the stuff to say and how to say it and stuff like that. Because then Vlad, Edwin, and I we're going to brainstorm because it's about really because I know the athletes inside and out to an extent, and like it's going to get feedback. So this can be a very powerful movie documentary. So it can be, and they plan on entering in film festivals and a lot more stuff. And there's a lot more than Netflix and Hulu. That's why, or Netflix and Amazon Prime, because there's Hulu and other things that most people don't think about. But that's why you team up with companies that really go up and beyond because they have that kind of.
Nick, if you ask me, man, like when you talk about the wheelchair competitors, we all have stories that the best writers couldn't write themselves, like you just have to tell it. And to me, it just seems like our stories are going to be more powerful than anything they've done before. It's got to be.
Well, that's what it is. So you're exactly right. You have to tell your story, but it's the questions to be asked and the direction to ask the questions, and that's where you could do it. So you've seen the like maybe some of you guys seen this my thing that bodybuilding.com that was 15 minutes. There's like almost 8 million views on it. Well, they wasn't for sure which way to go with asking me stuff. I was like, just trust me and let me just tell my story. And it was just me telling the story, and they edited. And then all of a sudden, like they're like, oh, this is one of the most popular videos. So that's the same kind of approach. I'm gonna talk to them because they're gonna highlight, it's your story, but then seeing you guys overcome, like Harold strapping himself to the bench and all this stuff, and then it's gonna see a visual, and people are like, oh shit, this is like the real deal. It's like there is no excuse because if you look at sports in general, like the bodybuilding and the fitness industry, if you get a pie graph, it's really like just 2% because the football, the NFL takes up greater part, NBA, hockey. But we can take that 2% and grow it to the whole pie of the graph by stories, because all those people can have their stories. I'm gonna text Edwin. Would it be easier if you just video call me on WhatsApp right here, and then I could just show, you could say a few things if you want to the guys, or, I sent you the login to Zoom. So it's up to you. Appreciate it, man. like he wants to do it. He's just driving. So like, this is just out of the blue. This is like live, on the moment.
Yeah.
Well, while we're waiting, we guys gonna get any more questions about the history of the sport or where's it going and all this stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I was going to ask you, where you see it going in the future, because and I don't know if we got enough time today. Maybe this is a future episode, but just thinking about, like, the thing that kills me is that we've got so many like amputees. And I don't think there's a high proportion of them competing right now. So, I mean, I think the wheelchair division's taken off, but like, what else do you see us being able to do to get more people competing despite having whatever their disability is?
Oh, that's a good one, Tim. You notice the other, like the amputees and stuff. So a couple things in the motion I don't talk about. So I submitted the rules for the wheelchair. So once that gets approved, that way it's in sync around the world for the wheelchair division. Like the upholstery, the wheels, all this stuff, because a lot of judges and promoters, they don't have a place to go. But the amputees, so last year, Jim Mannion actually approved me to put on the adaptive to make that happen. So right now it's in review, make the pro adaptive. That would be amputee, missing arms, missing legs, and stuff like invisible disability, which which that falls like epilepsy and other. But it would be one division because they actually do a lot over in Brazil as well as over in India.
Mhm.
So I have specific things that I've submitted to Jim Mannion and Tyler Mannion, but they have to review. And I'm going to actually text Tyler tomorrow because I like there's certain things, because if this gets approved, I'm going to do something special at the Olympia, and it has to be in advance. But again, so how would the adaptive get done? I would reach out to, I know quite a few athletes that look amazing that are ones missing legs. They would submit through competitions, and I would submit it to the IFBB to get them approved for their IFBB pro status. And there's two specific shows that I told them that to add the pro wheelchair, the pro adaptive to. So if they approve that, the adaptive division is going to start next year. So that's going to be the vision. But the first taste of it is really going to be at the Olympia if everything gets approved. That's moving forward. Okay, so there's that. And I would just add the pro adaptive to the same shows that are already established. That's why you saw me go over to Brazil, because I knew that's really, you just see my message right now. So that's why I was testing Brazil. Brazil's phenomenal. Like that's going to be the next stage, as well as India, because Sharu is very passionate about the wheelchair and adaptive, and so is here we go. Second. Hey, Edwin. All right. I know you're driving. Okay. So I got Harold. Yeah, I appreciate you picking up this. So I got Harold, James, and Tyler, and also Tim here. They're pros. And I was telling them, because they were asking about, they know Generation I is going to do the next feature film. So if you would just kind of like tell them, and and Harold's right here too. So I'm going to kind of put this.
What's up, Edwin?
What's up?
What's going on?
Hey guys,
How's it going?
good. Do you hear me well?
Can you hear them?
Yeah, we got you.
Yeah, they can hear you.
Yeah, well, obviously it's a pleasure meeting everyone. Sorry, I'm actually in the middle of driving. I just went to go see my father, but long story short, we're very excited to be working with Dick and everybody on the inside and making this a very, very special film. Obviously, we've worked on over 25 films in the past 10 to 15 years, and every film that we take on as a project, obviously bring them to a global audience has been our forte. So we're very excited to do that with this film.
So Edwin, if you would tell them who you are, so they can know. Hey, Edwin, would you tell them who you are so they get a vibe of who you are with Generation Iron?
Yeah. I'm a Black dude, so I helped co-found Generation Iron. Vlad and I have been working together for over a decade plus now, since 2008. I helped produce Generation Iron. I produced all the Generation Iron series. I produced a Ronnie Coleman movie. I basically helped Kai Green with his career. I did the same thing with C.T. Fletcher. I did the same thing with Callum Von Moger. So I'm basically responsible for all the production, distribution at Generation Iron. And Vlad Budin is my producing partner and my co-director, basically. So that's who I am, and that's what I've been doing the past, I would say, 10 to 15 years.
All right. I don't know if you can see Harold, Edwin, but he's right there, and he's the GOAT, the 4-time Olympia, 5-time plus Arnold. So Harold, you got a question for Edwin, because Harold's going to be one of the main guys. So Harold, go ask.
Well, I don't have a question. I'm just honored to be a part of the project, and just to meet you and meet the whole staff, and just want to represent the wheelchair class to the fullest, man. I just want to bring it out to a bigger platform that y'all definitely offer, and just to be a part of it, man. It's not about me, it's about the class. and I just want to give what I can give. Yes, sir.
Hey, Win, I appreciate the time. Thanks for doing this, man.
Nick, I missed a question there.
Oh, Harold just, go ahead, Harold, say it again.
No, I really don't have a question. I just want to say that I'm honored to be a part of it, and just honored to just represent the wheelchair class to the fullest, and just I'm just ready to get going.
All right.
You could tell him what I said, Nick.
Hey, Edwin, Harold just said he's really honored to be part of the project, and I appreciate the time, man. Drive safe, all right? And I'll touch base with you tomorrow.
Don't worry. Thank you, Nick. I appreciate the honor is ours. We're looking forward to working with everybody.
Yes, yeah. I'll give you an update tomorrow, all right, man? All right, thanks, Edwin. Bye.
Thank you. Thanks, Nick.
All right, did that get
Awesome.
real just now?
Just got real.
What a cool
I
job.
think that's awesome, man.
So how do you feel, Harold?
Hey, Nick, you know me, man. You know how I am. Hey, let's get it rolling, bro. You know me. I ain't about talking about it. It's about be about it. So when I see them walk through my front door, then it's on.
So it's just, we go back and forth with a lot of things and have meetings, and like this is like getting everything worked out because there's a lot of things. For example, like I got a meeting on Tuesday or Wednesday. I'm waiting for the CEO of Northern Chill. His name's Kurt. So like there's other big companies that's gonna, like, I'm teaming up to get be part of this. So it's not just you guys are gonna be seen by like around the world. You're going to have like some of the biggest owners and CEOs that I'm trying to get in part of this, be part of this. So when they're part of it, then they're going to pay attention to it more. And this is going to be that's my strategy. I have specific things, but everybody talks a big game, but I want to, make things happen, which you saw, he just got on the phone because I asked him to. If that doesn't tell you something, like this is the stuff I do behind the scenes to help you guys. And I know sometimes it feels like it's going slow-mo, but there's a lot of things I put in place that as soon as it pulls the trigger, it's going to move fast, because it's everything's going to move fast because they have multiple film crews that they could send out to Harold, they could send out to the other athletes at the same time. It doesn't mean that the same crew just goes here. There's different ways that they go about this, but they move super fast. And it's not the content. They can get the content, but it takes about 3 to 4 months afterwards. So they edit it and make it the polishing parts of the film to really, so it's a world-class movie.
Yeah. Man, I'm super pumped about it, Nick, for real.
So you just saw that's Edwin, and then there's Vlad. So you've seen Vlad interviewing a lot of the guys. So Vlad's actually like a world-renowned interviewer. So those are the two guys that like co-founded that. They work together. So, but I video with Vlad, I video with Edwin, and sometimes they're on the same Zoom thing together. So that's where it is. I'm not dealing with people that are like, you got to like message somebody and hoping you're going to get the right people. You saw I can just call them and talk to them directly. And that's the same. That's exactly how it is in the IFBB, the Arnold, the Olympia, and all these other things. They'll pick up the phone when I call them. It's exactly like that because I built trust and relationships with everybody.
Well, Nick, I just say you are an expert promoter, man. I'm just glad you're doing what you're doing. Just keep fucking doing it because it's helping our division out tremendously. So
it's about you guys. I mean, this is about you guys. I know this podcast, we're going to wrap this up, but you guys saw that was a crazy ending to this whole thing with Generation Iron, because now that's epic because, I don't think anybody ever just had Generation Iron pop up on somebody's cell phone like that. But like, this is it. That's the beginning. This is where it's going. So what's the future of wheelchair bodybuilding? I moved to San Antonio, Texas, because my mom had cancer. That was one of the reasons, because I was by her side. The reason why I did all this stuff is because I wanted to make her proud. Okay. That's one of the main reasons. It wasn't about anybody inspired me. I just wanted to win and bring her home the trophy. That's motivated me. But then she got cancer 15 plus years, 17 plus years. And it was just getting too bad with the cold weather in Kansas. So I moved her and my whole family to Texas. And then the gifs, I was able to buy her the house and all this stuff. And then she ended up passing, like it was last year, the year before. It's like I put it underneath the thing, how I deal with it. But moving forward, one of the things with wheelchair bodybuilding is why I moved to Texas is I'm getting involved with real estate, because the end goal is I'm going to invest in like thousands and thousands of apartment complex, which that's going to help fund disabled athletes all over the world. There's a whole thing that, that way when I leave this world, there's going to be a legacy left behind, so they don't have to worry where they can get help from. I'll make sure they know they can go to somebody in some place to get the funding they want to help follow their dreams. And that's the end game of all this stuff, because I'm getting the foundation, shows around the world, laying it down so it can leave the next legacy, because Harold's is part of, like, he's like the OG of the whole thing from the beginning. He's the first pro champion, and like it's just trying to get something more and more until things really take off. So it's been an uphill battle, but hopefully, Harold, you got motivated by seeing that with Generation Now just then, until everything's right, but a little bit more, and that's pretty much it. But any other questions before we wrap this up? Because I'm sure I don't know.
I got one. Is the wheelchair class going to be on the big stage, like on the night show for Olympia this year?
That's up in the air. So this is where I talk. So they are in control of that. I've had multiple meetings with Dan, and he knows it. The same thing with the prize money. He knows it. There's only so much I can do with like what they're gonna do, but they have the final say in that. It's just if they move things around. So I have to have meetings with Dan soon as well, because I've already had meetings with him multiple times, but now it's just kind of like finalizing everything, because I've been pushing to get on the finals, like the night show and all this stuff. And Harold knows it too. He wants it. All the athletes want it. So it just depends on what they say. Again, they have the final say. All I can do is just push for it. And that's the truth of the matter. I want it.
That'd be awesome.
Trust me, I want it. That's why I'm very blunt with this stuff, because like I take the pressure off the athletes. But then the athletes are like, is it going to happen, Nick? Is it going to happen? And I want to say yes, but like they have to have that final say. And and they need to have it. That's all I gotta say. And there's certain people in there, they're paying very close attention. In March, Jake Wood has something special for the winner. There's something that he didn't know how to make happen. And I said, I do know how to make this happen. So whoever wins the Wheelchair Olympia is going to have something very, very special, very unique. And it's been months in the works. I can't say nothing, but when it's revealed at the Olympia, it's going to be seen and heard. It's going to be something to be talked about for years. Just wait.
No, let the rest of y'all guys know. Y'all know Jake Wood is a promoter of the Olympia now. He owns Olympia now, right? Y'all know that? So y'all know that, right? The rest of the guys. Nick,
Yep.
You know that.
Right.
You also know that Jake owns the Wings of Strength. Okay.
He owns what?
The Wings of Strength.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Okay, let me put one more thing to that connect. Jake gave away a ZR1 Camaro, the first place winner.
I was thinking it might be a car. Yeah, that would be my guess.
That'd be sweet.
Nick said it.
It's not a car. I'll tell you that. Like,
I'm just telling you the caliber type guy that Jake Wood is, and he's into bodybuilding. I don't know, was he ever competitor?
I don't know if he was. I talked to him.
I just know he's real generous with awarding people winners with things. I know that's a fact.
Yeah. So
whatever he's going to come with is going to be worth having.
Yeah, so I was at the finals on so how this happened was I'm at the finals of the classic, and Isabel, she comes to me and tells me like her and Jake been talking about this thing, and they didn't really know how to go about this. And I was like, well, I do. I'll talk to Jake. So I talked to Jake, and yeah, he's all for it. So I was like, okay, if that's what you want, like, I'll make some phone calls. And I got things in the works. So
It's a little cliffhanger.
I'm excited to see something.
like it's crazy. I mean, this is it's a slow process that's taken on people actually caring, and that's what we need. It's been like you. I mean, now it's like here we're talking about the Olympiad tomorrow, but back in the day, 2008, 2006, 2007, if you guys actually knew how that all came down, we've made great progress. And this is why I'm so protective of the vision. It's not that if people want to come in and do stuff, that's fine. But it's like go in the right direction where it expands, give more to the athletes, help the athletes with their travel expenses, more prize money, more prizes, just give it all to them. That's my approach. And I just do it because I want to help you guys out to, and see how long Harold wants to do the Olympiad, because, Iris has 10 times, but I know he needs motivation to keep going. I get it. That's why I got Edwin on the phone. I know, Harold. And keep in mind, like, I will listen to you guys. So for example, Harold's idea was this past Olympia that everybody has have Olympia pants on. You know what? Like, he told me that the previous Olympia. I'm like, you know what? Okay. So got Olympia, everybody had it. There's only one athlete that didn't wear it because he wanted smaller pants, but I can't force people to do it. But Harold told me this vision, and I pushed it. Right, Tyler? You wore it.
Yeah, I love
Our class, it looked better for our class. It was more unified. It looked more formal. Everybody looked alike, in the wheelchair, instead of one color here, one dark black, one light black, one green. If we had the same, just like the classic class, how everybody the classic type deals on. So when we have all of our exact same pants with Olympia on it, it just looks so much more better for all of us for the class itself.
Yeah, so don't like all the pro guys, like this is a Nick's thing. This is like, we're a brotherhood. So if you guys got visions, I'm open to it. But it got to make sense, because when I deal with people of the higher power, it's just comes straight to the point, and it has to make sense. I have to, like, when you guys tell me stuff, it has to make sense to me in order I let everybody say, you know what, we're the pants. Harold's vision, I thought it was clean. I thought it was clean. It's not like Nick Scott said, this is my idea. It's Harold. And if people I'll give you guys the credit. I don't care. This is not like Nick Scott's taking over everything. I mean, it's a team effort. That's why we're here. I'm listening to you guys, and you guys got my cell phone. It's not like it's not like you guys can't call me one-on-one, every single pro, but that's what I'm here. So if you guys got stuff, like, don't be shy, but keep in mind, like, it's got to make sense. Like, do I want to add more pro shows in America? Well, that's a big controversy, because what about the international guys like Gabriel and Anthony and all that? It's not fair to them. So this is where we're expanding, because it's a world thing. I get everybody wants local. That's why there's like 3 shows, like, and there's one other specific show that I'm doing a pro qualifier in America that I'm getting reviewed to be approved, which it'll make sense once you'll see that one, because I actually was approved to put it on this year, but it wasn't a pro qualifier. I just passed on it because it was too soon. But I'm pushing for it this year, which it'll make sense once I'm able to announce it. Because I don't want to just announce things and then I'm like, oh, well, what would happen then? but maybe it's at the Arnold Classic for the amateurs. All right.
They
Well-
do. Like, it's been really cool. Like, I was, my first pro show was the first Olympia in 2018. And it's been really cool to see every year they significantly gave us more. Every year was better than the last, that first year, I had a fantastic time. I was just overwhelmed by everything. But going into 2019, then we got all the Olympia stuff on our gear. And, then the year after that, they started giving us posters at the Olympia. And then last year, I wheeled in, I saw a giant poster of Harold, so it's cool how every year they've one-upped it and they've supported us more and more and more every year. It's been cool to see that transformation.
Yeah. So Harold, when you saw yourself on the big column, how did that make you feel? Because when I saw you promoted there, I started crying. I'm like, oh my God, like, yeah, I was like, it was you, but I was crying because they had you finally. I was so happy.
Yeah, it was a win for us all, man. When I saw that, just like Tyler said, man, every year has been getting better and better and better. And when I saw, up on the columns and and inside is like our class represented, and even on the little deals coming across the Sky Bridge, man, it was breathtaking. And that alone, without even being on the big stage, was enough to say, okay, I'm good. You ain't even have to be on the big stage that time. Just to have our posters up to represent the wheelchair class at the Olympia. All over, people come in and notice a wheelchair, Miss Olympia wheelchair up there on the side of the wall up there, or on the big, the lighted one also that changed colors and stuff. Man, that was like breathtaking, really. And not only just because I was doing it, just because our class was on it, and just add another chip to it. It was me.
And that's Harold's right, because it was the vision, but it also was two things for me. It was finally like the vision, the wheelchair division has finally made it, but then seeing Harold on there, because all the dues he paid, and we travel the world together, and Harold and I, we were known as like the Ronnie Coleman and Jay Cutler back in the day, and it was just an honor to see him actually representing that the division. I finally felt like he would feel value seeing himself on there. It's just that made my day.
It was recognition, man. It was like we're recognized. We're just not rolling around, someone feeling sorry for us and put us on the stage. No, they recognize it, and the world recognizes it. So everyone that comes in there, they'll see that poster and they're like, oh, there's a wheelchair class. Even the guys who's in the wheelchair who don't know me or whatever, when they roll in there, they're like, oh, there's a wheelchair division. I want to see that right there, Or then they see it, they be like, man, that can be me. And that gives them that inspiration, that can be me in the next few years. If I put time into it, that can be me. So let me ask that guy how he felt about it. So when I have conversations with guys that they saw it, and they come up to me like, oh, you missed Olympia wheelchair. I'm like, yeah. And they're like, how you do it, or how much time you put in. They just one of those small detailed questions that they had in the back of their heads, and sometimes I don't have to say it. They'll see it. They're like, oh, I got to put time in. I can't just think it's going to happen overnight. I got to put time in. And I had one guy just asked me, so how many years you been training? I told him, he said, oh man, that's my only question. He said, I got to put time in. I said, yeah, you got to put time in, just like the regular guys, But yeah, that was a landmark momentum movement for our class, being the on the poster. So this year, it's going to be a step up from there. So what it's going to be, don't know. It's going to be a momentum move from last year to this year. From last year to this year, and especially when Generation Iron doing what they're doing. So they may not hit at the Olympia, but it definitely hit for next year for all the shows that Nick got lined up for next year, which is going to be like even bigger for those shows, being that that's going to be out. Now they're going to realize, because promoters want to see people. They want to have a division that's going to bring more people to their show. Hands down, it's business. But that Generation Iron movie going to be out. Those guys are going to want to see these guys at these shows now. So those promoters be like, okay, Generation Iron movie is out. Let's have this class here because we're going to have more people coming in want to see these guys. So it's strategic, like he just said, and I can see the movement. I can already see the head, and next 2023 and 4 and 5 is going to be totally different from 18, 19, 20. You know, the young bucks that's in here, that's sticking in there and say, man, where are we going with this class? It's already going. You just got to do your homework and get in the gym and be a part of that wave that's going to hit. But if you're not ready, it's going to roll right across you. You know.
So Harold's right. So it's about a strategic move that I'm doing with all this stuff, because Brazil, if you look on the map, is south. So those athletes will promote that they're getting ready for shows, the Arnold. Then they got the Arnold UK. If you notice, it's all the Arnold USA, Arnold Brazil, Arnold, Arnold South America, then Arnold UK, then India. So if you look, it's even further. So those athletes, they got tons of people with disabilities. So they're all going to be talking. So the sport of wheelchair bodybuilding is going to grow on a global scale, and they're going to, make these shows Olympia qualifiers. So then they're like, I can get my spot. So then they all come to the Olympia, and it's like a showcase. It's like, holy shit, all these athletes around the world, like wow. And that's the whole point. And then movie, and I'm just focused on what's the next phase and just keep growing it. And then, but then the more shows I do, I'm like even that much busier dealing with everybody, because everybody got questions, but that's just part of it. I'm trying to do this to build up so you guys see that there's, and on top of that, you guys can travel around the world. I mean, Brazil was amazing. Like, it was
I want to go to
amazing.
Brazil.
I mean, when you talk about it, it's like, once you get a plane, it's like, it's a nonstop, it's one over and it's a nonstop flight. And then they got a whole team there that can help out, get all the athletes and stuff. And the UK is super simple too. So then Sharu with India, like when you guys travel to these countries, I'll make sure like, everything's very simple for you guys. Because like, are you guys really going to go to Brazil or India or these other countries if there's not a reason? Most likely not. That's the whole point. You guys can travel the world since you guys are IFBB pros and have a reason to go there. But that's like the future, I flew there, right? Brazil, you guys saw it. So it's like, okay, like, let's see what happens.
Sit here and talk all night about wheelchair bodybuilding. I think we need to have him back on, Tyler. What do you think? Because I don't think we can cover everything in one episode.
Yeah, I just wanted to hear. This was a good conversation. Hear how things got started, how one thing led to the next. I've only heard the gist of it over the years. It was good to hear more detail on how next, who's the original OG of everything.
Yeah, and for nationals, I'm going to have something like coming in. I'm going to have a thing, all the past champions for the next wheelchair nationals, and I'm going to do something special for that as well to show the history of it. But the official Ludovic was the first one. Moving forward, I would like that was just the first one, but the first guy to actually get his pro card earned it was Harold at the 2011 NPC USA Wheelchair Championship. Now, if any of the other pros, like the past pros, beg to like argue that, just know it doesn't really matter, because I'm the one that deals with Jim Mannion, and that's how we got it set. Because Ludovic and Victor was really, I'll tell you a little thing. So it was after I competed 2006. So here's a little thing before we get off there. 2006, I wanted to like try to make this pro. So I talked to Frank, said, why can't we do something about past champion divisions? But it was going back and forth, so it never happened. But I talked to like all the past champions, and that one I got 5 of the past champions to come back. It was like Colton, Greg, Reggie, Victor. But then what they didn't know is Ludovic was coming back in 2007, and because Ludovic wasn't able to come because he didn't have the funding. So I actually paid Ludovic Marshall's travel expenses to compete at the 2007 NBC Wheelchair Nationals, flew him from Thailand. And I told Frank, I said, don't let anybody know. But then when I was in the hotel, Victor called me on the phone, and he knew Ludovic was there. I'm like, what? And then he said, Frank told him. I'm like, really? Really? It was supposed to be a surprise because I wanted to like have that shock factor because it was building up to Ludovic and Victor because they were like the big rivals, kind of like, you know, Phil Heath and Guy Green, because I wanted that rival. That was the beginning. That was just 1 year after I did this. I was able to, there was like 17 wheelchair athletes at that show. It goes from like 6, I believe it's 6 to 17th. And the most I ever had on stage was like 23 or 25. I think, was you there, Tyler, with one of those? Or was it after you?
2015 and then 2018.
I can't remember.
So 2015 is when Roger Espino won it.
Yeah, no,
Right.
the year Josh,
I
remember
won-
Josh Foster? The year he won, we had 22 up there on that stage.
That's the one. Okay, there we go. That was the year. So that's a little inside scoop of that. So, but anyway, any other questions before you guys? Because I know, let's see, what is it? Probably about an hour and 39 minutes into this.
Yeah.
As if somebody who
Yeah.
actually wants to listen to the history. And I'm going to make a professional video, like condensed in like 5 minutes of the history and have it professionally done so people can kind of see all this stuff, but not drag it out. So they a 2-hour thing that they got to try to do bits and pieces.
Hey, we got that Generation Iron info, so it was well worth the wait.
Yeah, I mean, this is, I mean, if anything, like you guys got the ultimate on a podcast. So,
Awesome.
but anyway, we could do this another time or whatnot, but I hope you guys, you know, learned a little bit more about the history of wheelchair bodybuilding. I do need to do something and praise the past champions because Victor's like a 6-time NPC wheelchair national champion or 7-time, I don't remember. But then highlight Harold because he was the first one to actually win, because after 2010, that's when the USA's actually was approved for the pro cards to give out, and that's where Harold won his. So it's these little history moments that need to be highlighted, and that's pretty much it.
Quick question, Nick. You got contact with Victor?
I do. I got his cell phone, his email, his Facebook, all, but he doesn't get back to me. And I've been trying to get him to face you, right? I don't think he wants to because, you know, if I look back, I know he's 6-time. I don't know if he's 7-time national champion, but you know, does he want to go out and take the chance of maybe win or like
Well, you know
imagine him losing?
It's different people errors, man. It's different people errors, and I respect his error. And everyone got to respect the next person error. You know, you can never put Ronnie. You can't put Phil Heath against Ronnie Coleman. You can't put Ronnie Coleman. His prime is different from Phil Heath in his prime, and it's 2 different eras. So, I definitely respect Vic, his wins, man. He looked phenomenal, and I just want to, you know, congratulate him on his wins, and also just communicate with him. You know, it's never too late for me to learn some tricks that he did, and just learn and, you know, move forward. So, you know, it's just different eras and they're facing each other. You know, that's not really what it's about with me. I just want to talk to him, recognize him, you know, congratulate him, and learn what I can learn from him. That's the biggest thing that I want to contact.
Yeah, like I'll message him and stuff. I'll give you a cell phone and stuff like that. And because he used to go to the Olympia all the time. See, I've been going to the Arnold Classic since 2009. So I've been going a long time. And the Olympia, first year I went is 2008 Olympia, and I actually went. And after everything was gone and people left, I went to the front of the arena and I put my arms out. I took a picture because, like, in my mind, I'm thinking one day the wheelchair division is going to be on there. I don't know because I don't know anybody here. I don't know how, but I'm going to make it happen one day. But like Victor always was at the Olympia working booths, and I talked to him and we got interviews together and stuff like that. And he lives out of California, as far as I knew from last time. But I'll get you hooked up with Victor, and but that's pretty much it.
Definitely do that.
Oh.
Yeah.
Anyway, you guys got any more questions? I mean, this is. I'm sure you guys are gonna think of more questions afterwards, but like this is where like Harold can tell you like the history of all the pro stuff because he's been the whole time, and a few other people. But then I can go back up and, you know, Johnny Quinn's been around longer than I have, and then Jack McCann, he's actually competed at the 1994 NPC Wheelchair Nationals, so he's been through the whole era, and he's been telling me he's going to be making his comeback too. Even though I gave him a retirement, I gave him a special award at the Olympia made a big deal about his retirement. He said that people's been talking that he's looking good. You just make a comeback. He broke his wrist or something. So
Just can all make it a few reps.
but if he comes back, I welcome on that. But I told him, because he said about the Olympia, I was like, well, if you want to compete at Olympia, you're going to earn your spot.
Mhm.
Hey Nick, have you thought about having an iconic piece just for the wheelchair class? As you know, like they just did. I don't know if they're willing to do it. Like the Seau is Olympia Seau. You know, the
So
sand.
yeah, I know. That's something I was thinking about doing. So to clarify this, so this is where like they need to have something like that.
Yeah.
So most people, so there's different divisions, like, in regular thing, and there is wheelchair men's physique, but until there's more guys, that could be a pro division. But the pro wheelchair, where all you guys are competing in, is the same thing for the men's open. So as like Big Ramy and those guys, so that's men's open. So you guys are men's open, but only for the wheelchair. That's what that means. So, but yeah, the Sandow, I'm gonna talk to Dan and see, because they're very particular about the Sandow.
Well, no, not a Sandow, but something like that. Something that represent the wheelchair class, and we pass it on year after year. You put your name on it. Every winner has their name on it. I think that's very cool to put that on there, and then the next year, to whoever has it, it's a piece that that signifies, you won this for this year. The next year, someone else can win it, and it's the same piece, and it's traditional. It's a traditional piece. You know what I mean?
I got you.
Right.
I want to show you something in a second. Hold on. I gotta get my brother in here because I got something. I just remembered something. But yeah, I'll talk to the Dan. But you're right. But they're doing something like Jake Wood. This thing. It's gonna be a piece, but it's gonna be very unique, and it's gonna be a showstopper. Just put it that way. But I'm gonna talk to Dan. I know what you're saying, so I'm curious. And there's something for the there's something specific. Hand me that box. Give me a glove real quick. I'll show you guys, since this is a live podcast, so you guys see how this works too. I didn't even think about it. So, but yeah, there's some be able to get. Slide it over here. So I have traditions when I do certain things.
Yeah. What you getting ready to do, man? You put the glove on?
Yeah, put the glove on. Because when I do awards, I got a thing where I don't touch them, because I believe that it's the winner.
You want to contaminate the trophy.
Yeah. Put them Nick germs all over it.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, it's a thing, because like when somebody wins the award, like it's only at the event that the athlete gets, just like the ring and other things. It's the athlete has to be the first one to actually touch that.
Oh, you already got it.
Oh, there it is.
2022. There it is.
Yep. Whose name is on it?
I don't know.
That's my name.
Make it come back.
I mean the other one, the other box. So I got them all here. I'm gonna just do some stuff. I'll show you the other thing, so you guys can see it. There's the participation medal.
That's
That's
medal.
cool.
That medal right there is phenomenal. That
So-
thing weighed about 10 pounds.
And it says Joe Wieters, wheelchair Olympia participant.
Pretty cool.
So
Super sweet.
I'm gonna document that I ship it to the Olympia for so they can have it, and then that's when to get it in Vegas. But that's how close everything is. So you guys see that there it is. I got all the medals right there, and the other awards get shipped and stuff like that. But I'm behind the scenes of everything, as you guys see right there. And it takes like 3 months to get some of these medals, so so, or it's like 2 to 3 months. So now I got them. So just think everything's, see how long, like I've already been dealing with a lot of stuff months ago. So this is not just like things just come out of the woodworks. Like I have everything, and it's a lot of planning with all the shows and events and all the athletes and a lot of things that I juggle at the same time. Because I can't just pull up the Olympia medal like, look here's first place. But there you go. There's the first place. There's the actual first place and the participant that the athlete's going to get. Only one, whoever wins it.
So,
All right. Well,
cool.
any other questions? Like a little show and tell here, and
Yeah,
I'm
man,
gonna talk to Dan about that. Something similar, different with the Sandow. See what we could do, because there's still time. Any other questions or comments? This is time. I know it's a lot of stuff just thrown out, going back and forth with Generation On, the medals, history, the beginning.
been great, man. We appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, thanks.
Sure. Did it kind of give you kind of like an insight of like the future? Because I'm going to keep expanding. So you guys understand, like the Arnold Classic, it's all over the world, but it's only the ones that I'm going to add is where the IFBB Pro League is. The other ones is a different division. Europe and Africa is no longer IFBB Pro League. 2017 it was, but no longer. So the only Arnold is the USA, South America, that's Brazil, and then the UK. Tony was doing Australia and China, but it's not right now. So right now that's why I'm doing those, because those are all the Arnolds. Do the Olympia, do other shows. And the reason why I do Dallas is because that was the original one, the location. It went from Houston to Dallas, and then that switched over to the UBU Dallas Pro. So that Dallas is kind of like the originating of wheelchair bodybuilding. So even though that happened this year, so that's kind of like the origination of the show of where it began, if that makes sense. And keep Toronto going. I was trying to keep the UK Body Power, but they discontinued that because they're no longer IFBB Pro. But that's pretty much it. I try to keep the same shows and slowly add around the world until things, and I won't add more and more until like the numbers pick up, and keep on working on things. But that's pretty much it. So UK, Brazil, and India is like the goal for next year added on. Well, UK.
Awesome.
But that's pretty much it. And I'm going to stay like that for a couple of years unless athletes start stepping up, because it's going to be too many shows around the world. Let's go to China, Russia, Tokyo.
No, we just got to get all those travel expenses covered by a sponsor, and then that would be the deal right there.
Right. That's where that's like the next phase I'm working on. It's just a lot of stuff to try to juggle. But anyway.
Cool. Well, Tyler, let's have him back, man. Appreciate you coming on.
Yeah, definitely. And I'm gonna get this. I got other people helping with wheelchair bodybuilding on social media. So when you guys do podcasts, just kind of like tag it, so then that way they repost it. You can drive traffic to all this and stuff like that. And I'll get something set up.
Is that right?
What's that?
Doesn't James help you with that?
One of them.
I'm one of them.
I got you. Also.
So it's just trying to get people that trust and juggle these things. And I've, over the years, I've tried to get people to help me, like behind the scenes and all this stuff, but it's very difficult because I got to really trust them. But then when I put this power on them, they tell people wrong, the athletes wrong, and then they come to me and it's a disaster. Then I get pissed off. And like, cause the key is just keep everybody getting ready so they can focus on the show, so they can be the best. I don't like dealing with extra crap at the show, because then I get really frustrated and I get really irritated. And I'm the nicest guy ever, but like if people start messing with you guys, I will get pissed off and I'll put my foot down, because I don't want you guys to get out of the zone. I'll crack the whips then I get pissed off. But anyway, Harold's seen me fired up. I think you all have seen me get irritated at one point.
Mhm.
But it's just make sure everything runs smooth, because at the end of the day, if you guys are up there and it's just you, I mean, this is going to go around the world. I just want the event to run smooth and look amazing, so you guys get all the credit and showcase, and then that's it. Move on to the next one. All right, guys.
All right. Thanks, everybody.
All right, see you.
See you guys.
See you guys next time.
Take care.
See you.